Wait 1 second. You just, okay. Do you guys have any pets? If you answered yes, what if your pet was being used for breeding and treated as an object kept in horrible conditions?
Sergio, you're there's something popping up. I don't know what it is. It's gone. It's gone.
You, do any of you have pets? If you answered yes, what if your pets were being used for breeding and treating as object kept in horrible conditions just to profit from it? I personally would be okay with my dog being treated. That would be putting their health and life at risk. We need to support humane treatment of animals by adopting from shelters, rescues, or nonprofit organizations instead of buying from them, from commercial breeders. Breeders will stay in business as long as we continue to buy from them. We have shelters all over in max capacity. Rescues are doing all they can to help save animals. Yet commercial breeders are still selling puppies just to profit from them. As you can see, these puppy mills are commercially breeding facilities that mass produce cats and other animals for pet stores and consumers. In most states, animals can be legally be kept in cages their entire lives for the sole purpose of selling them online or to pet stores. These facilities are mass producing animals, not vetting them properly, and euthanizing them and banning them, and then can no longer be used to produce for them. Animals that are being mass produced are being kept in horrible conditions that cause them to end up being sick. Paws Rescues from Washington State estimates that there are approximately 10,000 puppy mills across the country where animals are confined to overcrowded cages with no choice but to sleep on their own feces and drink dirty water. Puppy mills are selling sick animals to consumers and pet stores claiming that their animals are kept happy and healthy all along. A lot of these animals, as they get older, will end up having behavior issues and will probably end up on the streets or shelters. The reason for this is because they are taken away from their mom way too young, and they are not having the opportunity for their mom to teach them how to behave properly. Puppies are taken away from their mom too soon and not only miss out on the important nutrients mom's milk has to offer, but they're also not getting the training that their mom will teach them, how to behave as a proper dog. If we don't stop buying from these mass producers, they will not stop breeding animals. The Humane Society estimates that 2.6 million puppies are sold each year from puppy mills, which is crazy. That is a large amount of animals in 1 year. The reason they keep breeding them is because we, as consumers, keep purchasing from them, keeping their business flowing. Animal shelters are crowded with dogs and cats more than ever. That is leading to more and more animals being euthanized. In Riverside County, the Department of Animal Services is indefinitely waiving adoption fees for animals in efforts to clear the shelters and avoid euthanasia. With the AB 485 Pet Rescue and Adoption Act, pet stores are to partner with local shelters or rescue organizations to help clear the shelters, instead of supporting commercial breeding by obtaining animals from puppy mills. If pet stores obtain their animals from shelters or rescues instead of puppy mills, we will be better off. Data to a fact from the California State Assembly, it costs taxpayers $250,000 annually to house all these animals in the local shelters. If we stop supporting these commercial breeders of animals, we can save ourselves a lot of money and help clear the shelters by adopting all these animals and finding them a home. The AB 4485 Pet Rescue and Adoption Act was signed in October of 2018 and went into effect in January 2019 in California. California became the first state to ban the sale of dogs, cats, and rabbits that came from commercial breeding facilities. By doing this, we are regulating that pet stores do not continue to support puppy mills, but it does not mean that the breeding has stopped because some of the import animals are still from out of state. The AB 2152, known as the Bellas Act, was enacted to strengthen AB 485 to stop the import of puppy mills out of the states. With these two animal protection laws, there are stricter policies to end an illicit puppy mill industry and encourage animal rescue. The San Diego Humane Society sponsored the Bellas Act and takes in animals abandoned by breeders. The San Diego Humane Society offers and investigates pet stores to make sure they are followed by the laws and providing them with documentation as where the animals are actually coming from. You can make actually a tax deductible donation on the Humane Society website to help continue fight the breeding of animals in California. We need to support humane treatment of animals by adopting from shelters, rescue, or nonprofit organizations instead of buying from them commercial breeders. Shelters are more crowded than ever before animals and are still being exploited. Bringing in a new pet into your family would be the happiest experience, not a stressful one at all. So next time you are ready to add a new pet to your family, think about and making a conscious decision that will benefit the animal's life. Thank you. As you can see, this is one of the dogs that I'm actually fostering right now too. So she was in my lap the whole time. So she was.
That's so cute.
And so she's like about 3 months old, and right now I'm taking care of her. But yeah, these are just one of many dogs that that I find off the streets. So and then I rescue them. Thank you.
I thought you had a great presentation. I love the fact that like I know it wasn't part of the presentation, but at the end you actually showed us like your dog. She's adorable, but I thought it was a great presentation, very informative and persuasive.
Thank you. Like, I've thought about getting a pet before, honestly. I'm deathly allergic, but I love cats and dogs. But the only like place I knew where to get a cat or dog was, PetSmart, Petco. I never like thought about going to a shelter.
Yeah,
So I see. Yeah.
if you want more information, I'll give you the information. But yeah, there's so many dogs that we have that they need help.
Thank you, Sergio.
Of course.
Okay,
I'll start
getting ready.
Oh, can you guys see the screen okay?
It's loading.
Yeah, it says
Oh.
no.
Oh, okay.
Is it loaded on your screen?
Yeah.
Oh, because for ours it's just black and this is loading.
Oh,
Maybe
that's
refresh the browser.
maybe. Let's see.
Ooh, it came up now.
It's
Oh,
like
it's here now?
trees in a park, something like that.
Yeah. Okay. Can you see it now, or did it go away again?
No way. Or did you press
Okay.
center mode? Like presentation?
Yeah, I pressed the slideshow. Yeah. It
Okay.
won't do that if it's.
It doesn't show when you do that. We can see it now though.
Oh, okay. All right. Then we'll just deal with this then. Okay. So, hello everybody. I'm Amber, and today I'm going to be talking to you guys about pedestrian-focused design, especially when it comes to urban planning. So I hope to persuade you guys to value and advocate for pedestrian-focused design and improving your communities. So I just want to ask everybody, how many of you guys can say that you feel completely safe walking in your neighborhood? Or do you feel like your neighborhood is even nice to walk in? Like, is the sidewalk in good condition? Do you even have a sidewalk?
Can I answer? Like actually answer? Sorry.
Yeah, answer.
Yeah, for the most part, where I live in Sorrento Valley. It's pretty nice. And then the roads are nice, the sidewalks are nice, but like as I get closer and closer to, I guess, Mira Mesa, the sidewalks aren't as great, and there's a lot of potholes. Yeah, that's all.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, I know, me personally, I really don't like walking in my neighborhood just because like it's all concrete. Like there's no trees, like there's no shade, especially when it's super hot outside like it is right now. Like I don't even want to walk around. It's just way too hot. Um, so we can all agree that taking care of our community is something that's really important to us, and we really need to value the walkable spaces in our communities. Just because walking is better for the environment, it's better for our health, and it brings communities together. Um, and it also improves our outlook on life. I mean, getting out into nature and being surrounded by green does help with how our mental state is. It helps with our stress. So I'm hoping to convince you guys the importance of valuing walkable spaces and discussing the benefits that they have and also some of the downsides. So the first thing I'll be focusing on is the environmental aspect. So walking or biking as a means of transportation within our communities can reduce carbon emissions in comparison to like the carbon emissions released by vehicles. Um, and a study conducted by Marshall, Brower, and Frank in 2009 found that areas that were highly trafficked by people, so high foot traffic, even though they were very crowded spaces, like think about like Paris or Italy, how crowded those spaces are. The carbon emissions were much lower than even a suburban neighborhood in America. being outside and having walkable areas as well also brings a more pleasant feel to a community. So kind of like what Sota was saying, how, you know, he feels like his community, his neighborhood is really nice because everything's taken care of, the sidewalks are accessible, it's a nicer area. But then as you go towards Mira Mesa, you know, things are not as upkept. And even those little things, it might seem, you know, maybe petty to some people, but those little things do really impact people. It changes the way that a community feels, how safe a community feels, how accessible a community is. I mean, think about if you need a walker or a wheelchair or something and the sidewalk has a bunch of cracks in it or bumps, that poses a danger to people. And so just having you know, kind of like this picture, just having nice spaces with accessible walkways and plenty of shade, it makes the community more pleasant and more relaxing for people to walk in. And also getting outside as well brings together the community. When you're walking around, obviously you come into contact with more people. And a study done by Cozen in 2007 found that the crime actually decreased in communities where walking was the primary mode of transportation, because getting outside and walking and meeting people brought together these communities. It created connections amongst people, and that fosters relationships between individuals. You know, you want to look out for your neighbors, you want to care about your neighbors. If you see something, you say something, kind of like a neighborhood watch, if any of you guys have that. Versus if you're all just in cars and it's very like isolated modes of transportation, you're not going outside, then you're not fostering relations with anybody in your community, and you're not as likely to look out for them, you're not as likely to communicate with each other about, you know, what's going on within your neighborhood. My second point that I want to touch on are the health benefits from walking outside. So some of these obviously are, you know, the physical health benefits. Walking around outside will help you lose weight. It will help you build muscle. It's obviously really good cardiovascular exercise to be getting out more. But there's also the mental aspect and the emotional aspect as well for getting outside. Being around trees and around nature, switch this, yeah. Being in nature and being around trees is very relaxing. And there's even a, I don't know if it's a program, but there is a trend in Japan actually where people will go into the forest and they'll just sit amongst the trees, and it's called forest bathing. And there's been a lot of medical studies done there, looking at the effects of forest bathing on individuals, and they found that the stress levels in these individuals has decreased a lot, and people's health was better, people's metabolisms were better, their heart health became better, and it was just because they were releasing stress. And you have to think too, this is it's this forest bathing phenomenon is a really good parallel, because you have to think about Japan is so, especially in the cities, it's like concrete jungle, you know. And so a lot of the studies that they did with this forest bathing took people who worked in like office buildings, like in Tokyo and all that, and they took their, you know, physiological data before when they're just in the office working, and then took it when they're in the forest after spending, you know, like just 30 minutes a day for a week in the forest, and they found significant changes within their health. And so this, just getting outside, and more importantly having spaces outside that promote people to get outside. If you think about like what I said about my neighborhood, there is no shade. I don't have a lot of greenery here. It's mostly just dirt and concrete. It's not very nice. And so I don't want to go outside. And I don't ever see anybody walking outside either in my neighborhood. And so, but you look at this picture and you see, like, yes, they have cars, there's a busy street, but this is like a sanctuary for people. There is, clear sidewalk, there's benches, there's trees for shade. This is pedestrian focused design. This is prioritizing people and their well-being when they're not in cars. Because a lot of our cities look like this, where they're solely focused on cars and on the vehicle itself. And this is what I would call the car-centric urban planning. You see the people are condensed onto the sidewalk on the sides. There's bikes weaving in throughout the cars. This, obviously, I mean, if you had to choose between this and this, which one you would rather spend time in, I'm pretty sure we would all want to walk around in the park, right? So this is what I'm advocating against. But even though I am advocating against car-centric design, I do have to be realistic in that as much as pedestrian-focused urban planning would benefit us, would benefit our communities, us as individuals, it's not realistic, at least within the short term. Obviously, our infrastructure is what it is right now. And changing what's already present is not going to be easy. It costs money, it takes time. It might even displace people if we had to clear out like homes or something like that. It really isn't realistic on a short-term scale, but there's different things that we can do right now that can be effective in the short term. And so things that we can do would be if we are able to, if you have like a front yard or your house is next to a sidewalk, you could plant a tree that overhangs over the sidewalk and that provides shade. And if the community can do that and we have a bunch of trees lining the sidewalks, that promotes a more walkable space. And it doesn't even have to be a big tree either. There's like, I mean, you go to Home Depot, they have like little trees, they provide enough shade, like little palm trees, stuff like that. And also, if you have like just like clear dirt spaces in your neighborhood, just you can plant flowers, you could plant some grass. I mean, just having like a green space is more inviting. It invites people to come outside more. Just this last spring, I planted a bunch of like California wildflowers and just this random like dirt plot next to my house, and a bunch of like the orange poppies bloomed, and it was really nice, and I kept going outside because I wanted to see my flowers. And so you just have to think about just little things like that. Like, it wasn't expensive, wasn't time consuming. Just adding some greenery to your neighborhood really does affect people a lot, and it makes the space outside more inviting. People want to go out more. And so I hope that my speech here has translated the importance of pedestrian focused urban planning. I hope that I've gotten my point across and that we can value how important valuing the pedestrian experience in our urban planning and in our community is versus prioritizing the vehicle. So yeah, thank you.
Great job, Amber. I was actually going to do it on that topic, but then when I saw that you write that, I was like, oh, she got some good one.
Oh wow, that makes me so happy. Yeah, I've been like really passionate about that for a long time, but I'm so glad that you also are interested in that.
I have a quick question, Amber. So like,
Yeah.
I know like we have to focus on urban planning for pedestrians and all, but I mean I guess where most of us live, we live in not the city, so like everything's so far apart, you can't necessarily walk there. I know we should prioritize that, but isn't there's like a middle ground where we can maintain infrastructure while also focusing on the pedestrian planning, like a good middle ground?
Yeah, that's like probably the hardest thing. And I tried to touch on that within like the what is it, like the counterpoint of the speech, where it like the infrastructure we already have, it's gonna be really hard to change that. And it's not even with the cities, like the suburbs too that we have, they are so spread out. Personally, I don't like that. But if I had to think of like a solution, because things are so spread out, I would just have to say, obviously walking is not going to be the most efficient mode of transportation. So it would have to fall to biking. If there's, even like pedestrian focus, um, urban planning can also apply to bikes, and not motorcycles, just like regular bikes, because I mean, my neighborhood pretty bad. I'm not gonna lie, but I think biking is realistic, and I've definitely rode my bike around to go to like down the street to like 7-Eleven or something, and so biking is definitely more realistic. But yeah, unless we have the luxury of living in like a really nice place, like I don't know, like Beverly Hills or Santa Barbara or something, it is going to be really difficult to make those changes.
Thank you. I agree with the biking stance as well. I had a bike and I did bike for a bit, and it was fun, opposed to just driving everywhere.